Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you a review and sort of general discussion video on Shameless on Showtime. Of course, this week they aired episode 8 of season 7 called You Sold Me the Laundromat, remember? And yeah, it's been a little while since I did a video on Shameless, and you guys can go back and watch my general season reviews I did of the first 6 seasons. And I reviewed, a few of the episodes in season 7 so far. But why have I not been reviewing it week to week? Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about because Shameless probably still is. It's still one of my favorite shows out there. I love the show overall. I thought the first 5 seasons were especially great. Season 6 was still, very good for the most part. But something just kind of fell off about season 7 this year. I don't know what it is. I just feel like maybe they've been retreading storylines a little bit too much. I mean, I feel like it's starting to feel a little bit repetitive and somewhat tiresome with the directions they take the characters in, and the family. But this week's episode, I know it's a bit late, but this week's episode I did still really like, actually. It might have been my favorite of the season so far, at least since the premiere. And with the premiere, I was just kind of hyped up to watch more of it again. So this might legitimately be my favorite so far of the season. And although, like I said, I think Shameless has kind of lost a little bit of its steam in season 7, and I kind of see only like maybe 1 or 2 more seasons of it, really, I think, honestly. Unless they do something to really rejuvenate it. But, it's still very, very well acted, and, I still care about, some of the characters. And I really like this episode. From, of course, Lip's hearing about, trying to make an appeal, to get reinstated back into the college. That got actually very personal, and I'll talk more about that in a second. And then we finally have Kev sort of coming to his senses about the Svetlana and Veronica thing. Last time I talked about Svetlana, I said she was a fun addition to the show, and while I think she's still a somewhat entertaining character, I do agree that she does seem very sketchy ever since she had her father come in, but it turned out to be her husband we had heard nothing about before. So that was, and with her selling Kev's truck as well and just making all these moves behind their back. She's smart, but yeah, she comes off very shady too at the same time, And I don't like the damage it's done to Kev and V's relationship either. Veronica's just caring just too much about Svetlana and just kind of putting Kevin on the back burner. And Kevin, I still think he's one of the more, genuinely good people on the show. Of course, no one's perfect, especially on Shameless. But I've always thought Kev is some of the, is like one of the better ones. So I'm glad that Kev is sort of coming around and sort of taking a stand against what they've been doing. And, when he briefly yelled at Veronica in this episode, and she just sort of stopped talking and just sort of was stunned by, Kev raising his voice to her. But, I sort of applauded Kev for actually, taking that stand and sort of, finally going against him a little bit, going for his own accord, really. So I really like that part of the episode. I always found Steve Howey to be a very likable actor, too. And then, Fiona's decision with the laundromat and stuff, I get Lip's anger towards it, how she's basically investing money that should have been, more involved with the house and such, and, putting the house at risk, really. It is kind of a dumb move, really, because it's probably not going to get that much, profit. The whole Edna character, she's gotten increasingly annoying. And, Fiona this season, I used to really, really like Fiona, but for the past, for this season, really, just the way she's come off, sort of brushing the kids off, and, I get that she has to do things for herself, of course she does, for her own happiness or her own, satisfaction of what she's doing in her life, But she agreed to be their guardian, and now she's saying she shouldn't have to have responsibility for any of them. It's kind of a weird contradiction, I think. But I still really enjoy Emmy Rossum in the role, and I think Fiona's sort of coming back around in the show too. Debs, on the other hand, I haven't liked her. I haven't liked her in a few seasons, and she just seems to get increasingly more and more stupid as the show goes along. Really, she used to be this bright and sharp, good kid, but now she's grown to be the most frustrating out of any of them, really. And with her whole stunt in this episode, with Derek's sister and mother or grandmother going after Franny, and just the way Deb sort of said she was gonna kill him or burn the house down right on camera when they were recording it to send to the of course the protective services and such. She is not very sharp, is she? Not anymore. And I frankly don't really care what happens to her, to be honest. But I still really like Ian, and he has this whole story on with Trevor, which I think is okay. I still think Ian is very, very likable as a character, and Cameron Monaghan does a great job. I like the direction he's going, of course, with working with the hospital and such. It's a very fitting position for him. And I'm still hoping we see Mickey again. Come on, we all want to see Mickey. We all want to see him get released, on good behavior or something. I also really want, Mandy back in the show. I've said that before, but I think they need to bring Mickey and Mandy back. Maybe Sheila and Joe or Karen, I want to say, but I could do without those guys, to be honest. But they really just need to bring Mandy and Mickey back for sure. I hope they do that before the final season, make them regulars again. I'd really love it if Mandy came back and she was the final interest for Lip again. That'd be great. But Lip in this episode, I really loved his part of it. Of course he has, he's sort of been stubborn and sort of prideful. But luckily, Professor Ewens, who I've gotten to like quite a bit as a character, and his relationship with Lip, of course, getting this appeal set up and everything, despite Lip not verbally wanting that, again, more so out of a place of pride and stubbornness, but he gets this set up, and Lip needs a character witness. He does seem to consider asking Fiona at one point, but they're still very on edge with each other. For some of the reasons I told you about with the laundromat and such, but as well as just other things and how they've been handling things with each other in general. Then he does end up asking, of course, Ian to be his character witness, and I really liked the story Ian had to tell about Lip. When I think Ian said he was 6, and Lip walked so many miles just to find his favorite toy again, and he also called to figure out when all these trains are going to be where. And just showing Lip's dedication, how much he really cares, really good, character, story about what kind of person Lip can be. So I really like that. But despite that, the board, they end up rejecting his appeal and denying, him coming back to, study there, which I thought was a huge blow. And, finally Lip, he was finally willing to, take that step forward again, go in the right direction for himself. He also tells this very personal side of himself, to the board, just about how he does see Frank, as a, brilliant, he does have a brilliant mind, he admits, which he says he hates to admit, but Frank is a very smart guy. But, how, he steered his life, and, just sort of how that motivated him to be different. That's, I definitely can't repeat the, story with that and such, but I thought that was very well acted by Jeremy Allen White. I still think he's probably one of, if not the strongest actor on the show, but the board still rejects it, and this drives Lip to probably lower than he's ever been, I think, and it's really sad to see. And that's part of the tiresome of the show. With what I talked about earlier, it feels like a little bit repetitive. When characters get a spark of hope, something always goes to shit for all of them. I get it's Shameless. I get that there would be no show if there weren't any issues. But I guess maybe overall, I'm just looking forward to hopefully when the series does eventually end, we can find our characters at a happy place, in all their lives. I really want to see Lip happy someday for good. He definitely deserves it. But this right now, Lip's spiraling out of control because of it, and it's understandable. He sort of lashes out with Serena's boyfriend. That is her name, right? His current girlfriend that he is starting to develop stronger feelings for. Her ex-boyfriend, of course, he's wanting to see his their son, but he has this addiction, and he pretty much left a child at one point. But Lip just sort of lashes out at him, takes out his anger and frustration on him, just throws him outside Patsy's Pies, and starts beating on him. With Ian having to separate him, and Ian's trying to tell him that he doesn't need the school or anything, but Lip knows he does. He knows he needs that drive, and that he needs to be there in life eventually, just to sort of be what he's seen other people aren't, growing up and stuff. He is from a very personal place, and like I said, I just really want to see Lip happy at some point somehow. But yeah, he's probably in the darkest time he's ever been in, really, or at least one of them for sure. And we really hope Lips makes a comeback somehow. And he's just been carrying so much on his shoulders for so long too. But yeah, like I said, I have been frustrated with Fiona, but I am beginning to come around to liking her quite a bit again. I always like Fiona, just some of her behavior is a little bit frustrating occasionally, but like I said, I still enjoy Emmy Rossum in the role and such, and I actually liked Frank in this episode too. I know a lot of people hate Frank, but that's just the character, and I've been saying for a little while, me and my brother both watched the show, although he's behind right now because he doesn't have Showtime. I told my brother before, I hope they somehow try to redeem Frank at some point. I know it's kind of hard to do. And, I feel like that's not something they'll fully do until the end of the series. But they're starting to show signs of it this season. In the previous episode, which I didn't do a review on, Frank manipulates, but he does this to get Liam into this fancy private school. And then there are moments in this episode where he actually tries to help the family. I don't know if it's just out of, so he can get a place to sleep at, or just because he had to fall back on them after losing his, fake family with a whole homeless shelter thing. But he commends Fiona. He says the laundromat's a smart investment, and maybe it is. Maybe this will actually work out. Who knows? But just to see Frank get along and do any good whatsoever, you almost can't buy it all the way, of course, with Frank. But at the same time, Frank's trying to finally do some things that are actually somewhat commendable. So I'm kind of curious to see how far that actually goes. And, I liked Kev and Fiona's interactions this episode. Kev going to Fiona for advice with Veronica. Fiona really missing Veronica because they're best friends, but she just tells Kev the truth about what she thinks about Svetlana. She never trusted her from the get-go. And Kev, he ends up getting some of the alibi regulars to help out, fix the laundromat, some of the repairs and such. So I sort of like them bonding. I like Fiona's honesty with Kev. I always felt Kevin and Fiona could be something. I don't know, that wouldn't really work without Veronica, but I definitely like their friendship at least, and I like what they did for each other here. But yeah, overall, very good episode. I'm going to give it at least an 8.8 out of 10, I think. Like I said, it's probably my favorite episode since the premiere, and probably overall a better episode, really. But yeah, overall, I still do really like Shameless. I still think it's a very, very all-around well-acted show. Although the storylines are starting to get a bit tiresome now, I still think it's definitely one of the most enjoyable and well-done shows on television right now. And, I will try to do more videos on it as the season goes, but, no promises week to week, but I will probably at least do another video if something else major goes down or something for sure, because honestly do love Shameless, still love it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, if any of you actually watch. And yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.